are some pet owners who believe that dogs are used to the cold or can withstand cold temperatures because of their fur, especially those with thicker coats. However widespread this belief is, it is simply not true. I would like to quote from the website of the American Veterinary Medical Association, or AMVA, a professional group that represents over 91,000 registered veterinarians and provides educational resources to the public on animal care and other activities. Regarding cold weather care, the AMVA states that, quote, "It's a common belief that dogs and cats are more resistant than people to cold weather because of their fur, but it's untrue. Like people, cats and dogs are susceptible to frostbite and hypothermia. Longer-haired and thick-coated dog breeds, such as Huskies and other dogs bred for colder climates, are more tolerant of cold weather, but no pet should be left outside for long periods of time in below freezing weather." End quote. They go on to state, quote, "We don't recommend keeping any pet outside for long periods of time. But if you are unable to keep your dog inside during cold weather, provide him or her with a warm, solid shelter against the wind. The bedding should be thick, dry, and changed regularly to provide a warm, dry environment. The door to the shelter should be positioned away from prevailing winds." End quote.
I understand animal cruelty is an existing problem in Greenville County. Many times that means adequate shelter is not being provided. This is my issue on the proposed amendment to an existing ordinance laid before us tonight. Adequate shelter is not defined. It can differ by many opinions. I myself have owned livestock, dogs, poultry almost all my life. I spent thousands of dollars on feed, shelters, and vet bills. I love my dogs and other animals. I give them the very best care I possibly can. If an amendment is going to be adjusted on providing adequate shelter for dogs, first we must define what adequate shelter really is. We need guidelines from veterinarians, professionals, wildlife biologists. How big or small should a doghouse be? Is a 4x4 doghouse adequate for all dogs? What is a sufficient amount of hay? 2 to 3 inches of hay and straw, or 7 to 8 inches of hay and straw and blankets? Currently, as the proposed amendment states, someone could come to my house and view my kennels and approve. Someone else could come and disapprove. Are you going to specify each breed? A 65-pound tree and Walker Coonhound and a miniature poodle are two different breeds that require different needs and shelters, people. What is adequate shelter? I have actually purchased dogs that I didn't need because I felt they were being cared for. They were not being cared for properly. That was an act on my own opinion, but that particular seller thought his dogs were just fine. Also, in my line of work, sometimes I have to enter someone's home. I have viewed dogs in small crates that have been there for 8 to 10 hours. I do not feel that is adequate. Adequate housing does not just define the care of an animal outdoors, it also includes indoor care of an animal also. Unless adequate housing is defined, passing this amendment is going to require the search of every property, home, apartment, condo, loft, etc. to determine if a dog is being provided adequate housing. Not just adequate housing from the elements, but also dogs that are being left alone for long hours in small confined places, sometimes laying in their own feces. Adequate shelter is too broad. I'm just a hard-working, tax-paying citizen. I have a loving wife and I'm a father of 4 wonderful boys. I have a big heart for dogs and all creatures. It is a man's responsibility to take care of his family and domesticated dogs and animals, whichever he chooses to provide. I will not stand for an opinion. I will not stand for an amendment that is left to an opinion. An amendment that could affect me as a responsible dog owner and many others like myself. As I have stated, let's get the facts and proper guidelines from educated professionals on each breed before we pass a bill on nothing more than opinion on adequate care. Thank you very much.
No matter which side you're on regarding this ordinance, I think we can safely say everyone here loves Greenville County. And the rest of the country is starting to take notice of Greenville County too. Here's just a sampling of some of our recent press and accolades. New York Times, 52 places to go. Travel and Leisure magazine, 50 best places in the world to travel. National Geographic Traveler, 20 must-see places. And just this past weekend, we were featured on ABC News. Towns from all over the country regularly visit with their city planners trying to replicate our success. People are moving here, retiring here, young professionals are settling in and starting families. It's an odd juxtaposition though, isn't it? On the one hand, we are this vibrant, thriving, charming community where people are nice, respectful, and inclusive. On the other hand, it is also legal and therefore acceptable for your dog to suffer outside without adequate shelter in below freezing cold and blistering heat. A plastic dog carrier is not adequate shelter in 9-degree weather. Thousands of Greenville County's dogs are also legally permitted to be chained up, sometimes for their entire lives. That makes the need for providing adequate shelter to those animals even more critical. If you are chained and unable to move more than 3 feet in any direction, your owner must provide adequate shelter. The dog doesn't have a choice, but we do. This past winter, dogs were discovered frozen to death and left outside. Think about that for a minute. How long does it take for a dog to freeze to death? How long does it suffer? The pet's owners, per current laws, cannot be held accountable. Then guess what? The current laws are insufficient. We have an issue and we need to act. So today we say no more. Let's get back to those interested and relocated here, and which is also good for business because it increases our tax base. Why do they want to move here? I think it's more than just Falls Park or the restaurants downtown. I hope it's because of the people here and our community. What kind of community do you want to live in? Would you be proud of? Would you fight for? I think most of us here would say kind and not cruel, compassionate and not callous. So no more. This is not okay. I'm sure when each of you decided to be of service to others and run for county council, it was because you were proud of your community and you wanted to make it better. You wanted to make a difference. And now is your chance. Now is the time to say that this is not okay. We urge you to vote yes on this common sense, humane ordinance. It's not always easy to do the right thing, but we think this time it is. Thank you for your time.